So we are live
Hi
now.
everyone.
All right. Hi, Ella. So welcome, everyone. Okay. We are currently live. We're going to give about 2 minutes for everyone to start joining in. So welcome, guys. If you are here, kindly drop a message on Discord so that we'll get more people to join this class. As usual, we're streaming to both YouTube and Switch. Choose wherever your network works fine and join your classes. So we have about 4 people. We'll just give about 3 minutes for once it's 8:03, we can kickstart the class. So meanwhile, while we're waiting for others to join, I would have okay, let's just wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can give like few more minutes.
Yeah, okay. So we are live, guys.
Alright, so for those of you joining, please make sure you drop a message on Discord so we can have more people joining. Because some people are joining on YouTube, some on Twitch. So please drop a message that the class has started on Discord, on your room channel, on the UIUX channel. So we'll have more persons joining both on Twitch and on YouTube. So please everyone drop a message on Discord. We'll have more people joining. Welcome once again. Oh, okay. I think it's 2 minutes already. So we can start.
Okay. It's 2 minutes past. Okay, it's 3 minutes on the dot. So basically, good evening, guys. Welcome once again. We're kicking off today. I think here on the call we have your instructor, Christian Eku, and he'll pick up from where I stop. So Christian, over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
So
So, okay, yeah, you can.
no, Christian, you can go on. So basically, nobody responds. They all type their questions in the chat, but we'll make it as interactive
Okay.
as possible. So you can go on.
All right. Yeah, okay, no problem. So, like I was saying, Chibuzo Christian is my name. So, like displayed on the screen, you can call me Christian Egu, but Christian is preferable for me. So, I'm a product designer, and I'll be taking us on design thinking for tonight's class. All right, so I'll try to see how to finish this as quick as possible. Then I'll take questions towards the end. So if you have questions, you have some challenges, maybe you didn't understand some things, and you can feel free to pull down your questions together. Then towards the end, I will take them. All right, so guys, let's go. So design thinking. So we'll be looking at design thinking this evening, and design thinking from a layman language. What comes to mind when you hear of design thinking? All right, so how you think when you want to come up with your designs. And again, Wamaka, please, if I'm not able enough, always call my attention.
Sure, I will.
All right, so let's go straight to the thing for the day. Design thinking. What's design thinking? So we all are potential UI/UX designers. So, and I think this is one of the most important aspects of design thinking. And most times, these questions or revolving around design thinking always come up, even during interviews. whenever you're looking for a job, and you have recruiters asking you, okay, can you tell me about your design process? Can you share your design process? Can you share your some of your works you have done, and have that explained to us? So, and at the end of the day, what they're actually looking out for is they want to know your the thinking behind your design. So, and so I believe that's is actually one of the most important aspect of design, and luckily enough, we'll be having that today. So, design thinking is a user-centered iterative process by understanding the user, defining the issues, and identifying new creative solutions through a process of creating and testing a hypothesis. So, uh, this is just an English language. So I want us to take note of some certain things here. So design thinking is a user-focused iterative process. Have that underlined in your mind. User-focused, iterative, underlined, process. So it's a process to start with. Okay. So what does this process have to do with? So first one, you have to it has to do with understanding your user. Okay. Then secondly, defining the issues and identifying new creative solutions. So you can see the process now, okay, through a process of creating and testing a hypothesis. So it's a process and is an iterative one for that matter. All right. So having said that, we'll move on to the design thinking process. Like I said, is actually a process. So what's the process like? Okay, so I have an image here to illustrate what the design thinking process is actually like. So we'll have from my screen, it's actually five, but we'll have six stages here, from the empathizing stage to define, ideate, prototype, test, and implement. So from this diagram, you can notice something, the arrows flying here and there. So that's to show you that it's an iterative process. Okay, you can see the arrow going from the last item there, implement stage, to the first one, which is empathize. You can also see from the testing back to prototype, from prototype back to ideas, from ideas back to define, and empathize. So it's not a linear process, it's not a straightforward process. So it is something that, like I said, is iterative. It can go back and forth when you are not clear of the what you are getting. All right. So okay, so we'll be taking this process one by one, and we'll see how far we can go with that. So the first one we have here is the empathize stage, or the empathy stage. The empathy stage. So in this phase, the designer observes, engages, and discusses with the user about his current experiences and motivations. The goal is to empathize with your user by getting to know and understand them as much as possible, and aim to delight them with your solution. So at this stage, okay, like I said earlier on, so look at the key major points from here. So at this stage, what the designer is doing is to observe the user, engage the user, discuss with them, okay, to know their experiences and their motivations. Okay, empathy, more like uh putting yourself in the user's shoe. You want to understand them better. Okay, I will be using an example so that we can be able to uh, have a better picture of what I'm trying to say. So let's take, for instance, we are as designers, maybe you got a client, and the client wants you to come up with a solution for pregnant women, to take for instance. Okay, to make that clearer, let me just narrow that down better. Okay, let's say, okay, yeah, a solution for mobile app. Sorry, it's not okay, it's not a mobile app, let's just say for pregnant women. So taking pregnant women as a case study, number one, for the objectives. Okay, let me use the objectives and come on. So your main goal for the objectives is to Your main goal is to understand who your users is, what drives them, what frustrates them, and their needs. Then here you conduct interviews, surveys, and recording. So the pregnant women solution. Now back to that. So first question you ask yourself is, where can I get pregnant women? Okay, that's should be one of the first question you ask yourself, because you need to know where you get these people you are actually trying to come up with a solution for before you can be able to empathize with them. So a very good place to see pregnant women is in hospitals, okay, the maternity sector of the hospital. So that's the place you have pregnant women. So you can go to hospital and, okay, observe pregnant women. Maybe they are coming for their antenatal care and all that they normally come often to do in the hospital. So you observe them, you can engage them in discussion and ask them some certain questions. You want to understand what they are currently passing through, what are their frustration, what are their issues. Okay, then you just make that lively, even though you have something at the back of your mind. Yeah, you're working, you are trying to come up with a solution for them, but first thing first, you need to understand them better. Okay, the essence of this is that you want to hit at the particular you want to know their exact issue so that you can be able to tackle that head on. Okay, so we need to understand what drives them, what frustrates them, and what are their needs. Okay, take for instance, they can say, okay, one of their frustration at the moment is that the distance from their home to hospital, they don't feel like leaving home most their home most at times, coming to hospital, the sun is too much, so they feel like, okay, if it's possible for medical doctors to come to their homes and check on them and take tests and do all the necessary thing, that the queue at the hospital is too much. Okay, they need to be checking, they need to often know when to do this and all that. So you just have that interaction with them and note what they are saying. Okay, then the how here, which I did that on purpose, is, okay, I noted user interviews. So user interviews is you interacting with them, you are interviewing them, you are asking them questions. So those are user interviews. Then another way you can actually do this is through survey. So if you cannot reach them physically, you can, okay, reach out via surveys online. So think Google form have something, a survey form you can easily come up with, then send to people to fill in for you or answer some questions. So you can also do some recording. If you have your mobile phone, you have your recording devices with you, you can also record those conversations, which you can always play later. Okay, so that's for empathy stage. Okay, you are empathizing with them. You want to understand them better. You want to know what's their frustration, what their drive is, their experiences, their motivation, and any other thing that is much needed. Okay, then the second stage here is the define. Okay, at the define stage, the designer defines the user's need, their frustrations, and any other insights they might have gained from the empathize phase or empathy phase. Don't just note this down, analyze the observation, articulate the core issues you identified before now and highlight them. So what's your objective at this stage? Your goal is to analyze the information you have gathered and define the core issues at hand. Okay, how do you do this? You can do this by listening to recordings, analyze responses from survey form, matchmaking. So at this stage, to just throw more light on this stage. So at this stage, you try to come up, analyze the information you have gathered. So remember, I was explaining that you interview your users, and you can do that by maybe using your phone to record the conversation. You can do that by coming up with survey. So at this stage, at the define stage, this is the time you have to analyze some of the things you have noted down at the course of the interview stage, user interview stage. Okay, if you did a recording, you listen to the recording and analyze the information you have gotten. All right. So you analyze that to know the exact thing you are actually looking out for. So their frustration and all that and all that. So from this stage, you'll be able to pick some points. Okay, you can out of maybe you interviewed, take for instance 50 to 100 persons. So out of this 50 to 100 persons, so you start noticing there are some certain things that are common that most people find common. Okay, most of them don't feel like coming to hospital more often. They feel like having these services from their home. Take for instance, okay, most of them feel like the sun is too much, or the risk of coming to hospital, the queue is too much. So you take note of this similar things. Okay, most times as a designers as a designer, what we do is you come up with what we call persona. Okay, a persona is uh a piece of how do I put that now? A persona defines your exact users. Okay, it defines your exact users, and most times you for a case like this, the pregnant women app. So you can come up with maybe it's a typical fictional scenario of a pregnant woman and what the person's needs, what the frustrations of the person is, what the person does, and all that. So that's it. It helps you as a designer to actually know, this is the person or the kind of people I'm actually trying to come up with a solution for. All right, so I'm sure I have hit this point more. Then remember, this is an iterative process. If you feel you were able to define the issues and user needs clearly, proceed to the next phase. If not, head back to empathy stage and ask more questions. So, like I said, it's an iterative process. So, if you feel that, maybe after going through the information you have gotten and maybe it's not clear to you, you feel you have not gotten enough information and there is a missing link, you can go back to the empathy stage and ask more questions to your users and gather more data. So that's what makes it an iterative process. Then also the next is ideate, ideate, ideate. So at this stage, with the data you have gathered, you look for alternative ways to solve the issues you highlighted. The more outside the box ideas, the better. Discuss them with the team members or stakeholders and make the ones you all find most effective. The goal is so the objectives now. So at this stage, what's the objective? The objective is to ideate as many solutions as possible, and having team members from other discipline helps bring in as many difficult perspective as possible. So at this ideation stage, remember this is a process, like I said earlier on. So you move from one stage to the other. So at this stage, you have interviewed your users, you have analyzed some of this data, then you have come up with one or two things, maybe one or two solutions. So you check out the possible solutions. Okay, you'll now be asking yourself, okay, should I come up with, since my users, the pregnant women, take for instance, I'm coming up with a solution for what I've done so far from my interviews so far, what are their core challenges? Okay, maybe like the ones I listed. Okay, the queue when they come to hospital and trying to see a doctor, there is always queue and all that. Okay, and some say they feel that they can actually do this at home, that if it's possible, doctors can actually come and have them attended to at their various homes. So you can look at this solution. These are different solutions. Okay, so how do you solve the issue of them being treated at home? Okay, can I come up with maybe say a mobile app that will allow them to say they can chat with their doctors and maybe book consultation times. Okay, I will be coming by 12 or by 1 p.m. so day. Then when the person comes, the person meets the medical doctor directly without having to go through the queues. Okay, then you can think outside the box. how should I do this? How should I do that? So that is what ideation stage is. So most times what we'll do is you sketch some of these possible solutions out. Okay, you can put them into sketches. You can check them out. Okay, you can say, okay, should I come up with a mobile app that will solve this solution, or is it a website that will solve this solution more? Okay, these are some of the questions you ask yourself. It's part of thinking outside the box. Okay, and some of the decisions you'll be making will be informed by the data you have collected from the empathy stage. Okay, maybe take for instance, from the empathy stage, you discover that most of your users make use of mobile applications. So from that you can be able to say, okay, I feel since most of them use mobile app, coming up with a solution that uses mobile app uh, will actually solve majority of their problem. So you can actually go on to come up with a solution like that. All right, so like the objective section said, you can, okay, different perspectives, share this with your team members, so everybody will just have them looked at. So paper sketches, I think I've said that. Low fidelity wireframe, so you can come up with wireframes of possible solution, or user flows of, or maybe how user flow, more like how the flow of the solution you are coming up with, how that goes. Then the benefit of showing a quick paper sketch are that you can easily change it without wasting time, conceive multiple variation without emotion. So I think that's clear. So the benefit of maybe coming up with sketches of this solution is sketches are not hard to do. You can just draft out sketches on paper, your book, or you can also do this on a whiteboard. Just sketch out some solutions while iterating the having a section with your team members to look at the various solutions. So you can do this with sketches, paper sketches. You can also do with low fidelity wireframes. So these wireframes, there are different tools for wireframes. You can actually come up with this. The same thing with the user flow. So that's for the ideation stage. So prototype stage. Prototype stage. So at the prototype stage, once you have your top idea selected, materialize them, design and flesh in a specific prototype. How you do this is iterate and reject prototype that are not ideal. This is an experimental phase aimed at finding the right, that's for the objectives now. So the objective here, these are some of the things you'll be looking out for. This is an experimental phase, okay, aimed at finding the best possible solution, flushing out any constraints, issues you may have overlooked in the previous steps. So here, what you do is come up with high fidelity designs and interaction. So throwing more light on this, um, this is the next stage of this process. So you can see the stages now. So you are taking them is one step after the other. So we all started from empathy stage, knowing your users. You define your solutions, then you try out these solutions out, okay, by doing ideation section, interacting with your team members, or if you are the one working alone, you can weigh the possible options, okay. Then you now, when you have weighed the possible options, okay, does this work, does that work, does that work, then at the end of the day you'll be able to say, okay, from all I've tried out, okay, and from the data I've collected, I feel this is what actually solves the user's issue. So we'll now move on to the prototype. So at the prototype stage, this is when you now come up with the design proper. So it is no more sketches now. Okay, you do your design proper now. This, if you're using Figma to do your design, or Adobe SD or Sketch or InVision, whatever design tool you're using, so you hop onto your design tool and start coming up with the designs, start fleshing them out, start coming up with the real life solutions. Okay, the sketches you have made, you start converting them now to high fidelity designs, okay, And like I've always said, is a process, is experimental process. You can look after the prototype. There are, if there are things that didn't go well, maybe from the data you have collected, or from yeah, the data you have collected, the decisions you have noted down and all that, so they didn't align, you can take some of them off. So there might, maybe some things that might not really be needed. Okay, is a good time to like take them out. Okay, another good thing is you make them interactive. So if take for instance, at the end of the day, what you are coming up with now is a mobile app. Remember what I said. Okay, maybe from your interview section you discover that majority of the pregnant women uses mobile phone, or that's where they easily access information. So it is best to come up with something that they often have access to or go to for solutions, so that you can solve their problem. So different scenarios, different way of solving the problem. So in this case, mobile app might be the best. Okay, solution to come up with. Okay, you can also do the web version. Everybody goes to the web, but coming up with mobile will increase more conversion rate. So these are some of the things you are looking out for, because at the end of the day, you are trying to solve a solution. One, you are trying to, yeah, solve a solution for your users. One, then secondly, you are trying to generate income for your clients, okay, or your stakeholders or your organization, whichever people you are working for, or yourself if it's your own project. So you are trying to generate income, or if it's not income based, you're trying to solve a solution. Okay, you want to make sure that you hit this issue head on and tackle most of the solution. So you make these interactions and see what works and what does not work, and just have them issued out. Okay, so that's for the ideation stage. Then when this is done, the last stage now, but not the least, is the testing stage. So at this stage, you now have a working prototype that you and your team or slash stakeholders are happy with. So this is time to go back to your users and test it. During testing, explain the task at hand clearly to your users, while also highlighting that this is just a prototype. It may therefore fail. Objective of this. So what's the objective? So the objective or the goal here is to see how easily a user can achieve a goal using your prototype. So how do you do this? Why the users interact with the prototype? Ask them to think out loud. Okay, possibly record the section, their thoughts during the task are revealing of their state of mind. Once they complete the task or give up, ask for their overall impression and suggestion. So this test stage is a very, very important stage also. Each of the stage are very important actually, but this is very, very important because at this stage you are testing the solution you have come up with. Okay, you are testing the solution you have come up with. Okay, like I said, at the prototype stage you have come up with a high fidelity design. Coming up with. So at this stage now you want to have them tell your users. Okay, in our case scenario now, our users in our case scenario now is pregnant women. Okay, so at this stage now you are trying to see, does you are trying to see that does the solution you have actually come up with solve the problem. Okay, so take for instance, like I said, we finally came up with a mobile app for this pregnant women. So you can have them interact with this prototype. Okay, and while they're doing that, you are observing their actions, you are observing how they do that. Does they easily perform the task? Okay, does this actually solve the problem they actually say they were facing at the initial stage when you first reached out to them? Okay, while they are facing this solution, you can ask them to like Okay, they can actually share their feelings or their experiences with you by talking. You can ask them questions. Okay, how do you see this? Okay, were you able to achieve this solution? Okay, was your the task being very easy to achieve? Okay, maybe they want to book consultation. Is this really confusing for them? Is the font, are they too small? Is this something they can recommend for someone? Does that solve their problem? So you observe them, you observe their reactions. How do they feel when they were actually trying to interact with the solution? Okay, their expressions matters. Okay, so let's take for instance where they were where while they were going through that, they were frowning, they were shaking their head. So you can ask them, okay, so I noticed you were shaking your head. Was there any issue? Okay, was there any problem? So why was that? Why was that not that? So you can also do recording section at this stage. So while you are recording also, because like I said, it's very important, you want to make sure that you note down the key things. At the end of the day, the solution you came up with might not even solve their problem, funny enough. Okay, the solution might not really solve their problem. So you you are trying to make sure that, okay, if that does not solve their problem, you have noted down, okay, what is the major issue. So I want to quickly create another scenario for this design thinking process. Okay, aside from pregnant women, so I want to use maybe a real life example of maybe something we actually uh, undergo on a daily basis. So it's not design related, but this is design thinking does not only have to do with design, it's a process of solving issue. So take for instance, uh you have a baby, maybe a little kid of 5 6 years crying, okay, and as a bigger auntie or a bigger uncle, you are coming back and you have this baby crying. So from a distance seeing a baby crying, okay, you can feel that, okay, I can easily buy this baby biscuit or get the baby a toy and the baby will stop crying. Okay, and you eventually get a biscuit maybe from a close by store, and you offer this baby biscuits. Most times there are some baby you give biscuits or a toy that you bought for them, they will stop crying immediately. While there are some that you offer biscuit and a toy, they will throw it away. So what is actually the reason? Why do some of these baby throw this away? The reason is simple. You have not solved their problem. Their problem might not be biscuit at the moment. Their problem might not be gift. Their problem might not be toy. Okay, maybe they just want sorry. Okay, they just want someone to pamper them, someone to carry them. They want someone to tell them sorry, stop crying, and calm them down and carry them and all that. They just want to live and play. So that is that is what they need at the moment. So applying design thinking process to this, okay, the other way around. So you can ask the baby, that's empathy stage now. Why are you crying? Okay, who beat you? What's the challenge? Okay, is now the baby that is now will tell you, okay, so and so person beat me. I want to play. I want biscuits. I want this. I want that. So from what the baby tells you, you can be able to now say, oh, you define it. So what the baby actually needs is biscuits. Okay, and you know babies now, they can say a lot of things at the same time. It needs biscuit, you need to be carried and all that. So you now weigh it. Okay, from biscuits and toys, which one do the baby needs most at the moment? So that's the ideation stage. Now you weigh the different options. Okay, then prototype stage, you come up with the possible solution. You can firstly come up with a biscuit and present to the baby, and also come up with a toy. Okay, at the end of the day, some baby will say, okay, what I want is biscuits, and they might not even need the toy at the end of the day. So you discard, you do away with the toy. Okay, you can keep that for later purpose or use. So you have seen the process now. The same thing is applicable to design process. So it's not everything that will be needed at the course of your design. So some of the findings you have done, some of the solutions you have come up with, they might be beautiful. Okay, at the end of the day, they might not be needed. There might not be the core needs at the moment for your users. So that is why this is the process. You go on, you go back, iterate them. So the toy is not needed, you do away with them. Then at the end of the day, the biscuit that they want, you present it to them and they accept it. So accepting it now is, you can consider that as the testing stage where they now say, okay, this solves my problem, and they stop crying. So you can weigh that from both the pregnancy women perspective of trying to come up with a solution, and from a real life typical scenario of a crying baby. So these are the processes. So at the testing stage, okay, like I said, why the user interacts and ask them, okay, think out loud. I think I've made mention of that. So their thoughts during the task are revealing of their state of mind. So I think that's have been certain. The ones they complete the task or give up, ask for their overall impression. So like I said, overall impression can be, for instance, okay, how did they feel at the end of the day while trying out the solution you have come up with? Okay, you can ask them, is this something they can recommend for someone? If they actually enjoyed the solution you provided, they can, yeah, say yes, I can recommend this for someone. All right. And again, is a process. So the solution you presented might not be the end thing. So you can always go back to the prototype stage, back to the ideation stage, back to the empathy stage, if that have not actually solved your solution or the solution you are trying to achieve for the users. So in a UI UX case scenario, so in some stages, take for instance the pregnancy women issue, solution or idea is actually for, let's say for instance, is a new project that you're trying to come up with. So how about maybe if you're trying to, okay, client says, hi, Christian, so I want you to, okay, my mobile app or my platform or my business or my project, I discovered that there are not much engagement, the conversion rate is slow, and a lot of users have said that they are having issues here and there on using the product. So, and they want to maybe, for instance, to revamp their mobile app, or to do same for their web platform. So in this stage now, you might not really need to start going back to interviews users afresh. So if it is an already existing product, a good way to go about this is, okay, number one, they already have a database of their users or their customers at this point. So you can easily go back to their database. Maybe there are feedbacks, okay, from customers. What are the frequent feedback gotten from customers or from their users? Okay, you can, that can be your data, that can be your empathy stage. You can go through them. Another way which I always do this is personally, okay, if it's a mobile app, you can check out this on maybe the mobile app on Google Play Store, so, and see people's feedback. Okay, when you go to Google Play Store, if it's a mobile app, take for instance, you end up seeing a whole lot of feedback from users using that mobile app, and you can use that as your data to make decisions. So what are users saying about these products? What are their pain points? What are their frustrations? What are their motivations? Do they really like this? Okay. So this is for an already existing product. So you might not need to start looking for the people to ask them questions. Okay, you already have a database you can work with. So from there you can move on to define stage, ideation stage. So some of these stage you can easily walk through them because you already have data on ground. But that's the process. That's the process. Then I just need to explain this more before I give room for questions and maybe other explanation. So there are some times that your users might not be close by, like the scenario I created of a pregnant woman. the pregnant women, they might not be close by. Maybe your client is based in abroad in the US and you are in Africa or you are here in Nigeria, your client is based in Asia where you are not even, you don't know, where you are not physically there with. So how do you handle this? So there are, that's where the survey comes up. That's where the trying to do remote user interviews come into play and all that. So it mustn't be physical. You can also do this remote. So there are technologies that have allowed us to solve this problem. So the same thing with the testing phase. So there are also testing tools, platform where you can actually do some testing or invite people to actually come and test online if they are not really physical with you. So, but if they are physical, you can easily do that. Okay, you can easily give it to them to try out. So, maybe take for instance, after coming up with a solution, they are what we call a focus group. So, a focus group is just a small group of persons that you can actually use to test your product. Okay, maybe 5 to 10 persons, and you have them check it out for you. So, and at the end of the day, you'll be able to make a decision from that. All right, so I believe so that's for the testing stage, and that's actually the last stage of the design thinking process. So after the testing stage, then your design is good to go, and your solution is good to go. The stakeholders gives you approval that they like this. Your users say, "Wow, this is what we're actually looking at for," and you too, you are good to go with the design. Then you implement, you hand off to the developers who will actually now put these things into code, um, and have them test out. So it's actually an iterative process. So that will be the end of this section. So I'll be taking questions from now. So I believe there are questions. So at this stage, I would like to have your questions. What did you not get? Did I miss anything? Were there areas that I didn't actually explain well, that or some scenarios we have seen out there that you want to ask questions with regards to design thinking? So feel free to ask your questions. Mamaka, please, are there questions? Um, if there are questions from the chat section, you can also
Yeah,
come
there are
to read.
questions. Can you hear me, Christian?
All right, let me have the
So there are questions on your screen, so you can read them.
Yeah, sure. I can hear you loud and clear.
I say we have the questions on the screen, so you can read them and answer them.
Okay. Okay. I need to stop sharing so that. Okay. Yeah. On the test stage, the developer must have built code, the product design, right? On the test stage, the developers must have built code. Okay. So on the test stage, no. On the test stage, the developers, like I said, the developers might not have moved handed that off to developers. So you can actually test the designs only. You can actually test the designs aside. They have not been developed. They have not been put into code. So you can test the design. So that's why we prototype in design. So remember, I was talking about a mobile app for pregnant women. So let's take for instance, you came up with a prototype. So an interactive prototype, take for instance, of a solution for them. So you can actually share the prototype with them. You can have them, like I talked about the focus group, you can have a little group of persons and show them some of this and have them interact with that. So for design, you can put that into mobile phone. So if you are conversant with Figma, there is this feature we call there is a feature for mobile. I've forgotten, Figma Mirror or something, that allows you to see how the solution you have built is in the mobile platform. So you can share that with your users and have them interact with that, just the design. So if it's a web platform, they can also test that, you can share the links with them and have them test it out for you. I believe I've answered that question. So it mustn't be when no, it mustn't be when the developers have actually done that. You are doing this at just the design stage alone. Okay, so the second question says, is this design thinking mostly used in mobile app? No, no, no. It's not only mobile apps. It's generally design. It can be mobile, it can be web, it can be any kind of design. Is this design thinking same as coming up with a case study? So, how do I answer this now? Design thinking is not the same thing as case study, but when coming up with a case study, you must ensure you follow this design thinking process. Okay, you mustn't write them at empathy stage, ideation stage. So you can tell that as a story in your case study, but you have to follow that process. You want to show that you actually empathize with your users, you actually asked questions to come up with a solution. You want to show that these are the findings from the data you got, okay, and these are the people you actually trying to solve the solutions for, and these are the exact solutions, and these are your processes. Just it have to follow that pattern, that process while coming up with a case study. So that's why most case studies you will always see this process. Okay, people will always say, okay, this is the process I took, these are my design process, and you have them list this out. Sometimes you have them tell this as a story throughout their case study. I think I've answered that question. If that's not clear, maybe you can ask again. I have seen people designing new products without going through these stages. Can that be applied to any products? Yes, that can be applied to any product. Having seen people without going through these stages, they might not expressly say they did empathy, they did this. Watch the process through which they undergo the solution they are coming up with. You will always come to discover that these processes was taken into account. So it is not really possible, or it is rare, let me say, or it is a bad process of coming up with products without following a design process. Like I said, the process must not be religiously followed. It's an iterative process. If it's a product that's already been there, there are easily ways where you can come up with this, or maybe some of the data have already been provided, so you don't have to go back and start doing some of these stages. So you can actually jump steps when you already have some of the data at hand. So maybe that's why you have seen people, okay, come up with solutions without following those stages. They already have some of this information at hand, so they don't have to go back to those stages. So, all right, do we create specific questions for our empathy, or do we use general questions in order to get appropriate answer? So, for the empathy stage, for the user research interview stage, you can come up with questions just specific for the solution you are looking at for. So, take for instance the scenario I created for pregnant women. You are coming up with a solution for pregnant women. So you can come up with questions specific for pregnant women. Okay, remember it's an interview, so you would want to make it very interactive. Okay, take for instance, let me just give a very short scenario. Okay, you want to, okay, hi, you greet the person, you want to know what the person is doing, you want to, okay, ask the person how the person have been trying to solve the solution or the problem they are trying to undergo. So take for instance the distance coming, often coming the queue issue. How do they solve the queue issue when they come to hospital? They sit down and wait. They try to spend some time on their phone while it gets to their turn. Okay, you want to ask them, okay, so what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Are there other concerns? What do you often do and all that? So you make you draft out specific questions for your users. You don't make them different questions. So you draft that specific question that will help you to make an informed decision. on that particular project. Okay, I think I've answered that. If that's not clear, maybe you can still ask. I will explain better. All right, so please show us what a user persona looks like and the details it contains. Can I do that right now? So you can actually check this out on your own user personas. You can just give that a quick research. So I believe, or you can go to Behance and check out on case studies. Look out for case people, designers case studies, and most of the times you will often see a user persona. But most times a user persona is just trying to explain the exact person. Most times they are fictional, but it's trying to tell the exact person you are trying to solve a problem for. Okay, in our case now is a pregnant woman. So if I'm trying to come up with a persona for that now, I'll say okay, I will just say I'm solving this particular solution for this person. The name of the person is a pregnant woman. These are the frustrations. These are what the person does. This is what the person is trying to achieve at the end of the day. So, with the frustration of the person, with what the person is trying to achieve, that will help you to make informed decisions that will solve his or okay her particular issues as a pregnant person. I don't know if you get that. All right, how is the design tested? So, the design is tested physically or remote. So, if you have the people close, you can share the designs with them and watch them interact with the design. Like I said, if it's a mobile app, you can share some of the design for them. When you are done designing, um, if it's a mobile app, take for instance, it's something that can easily be played out. You can use Figma Miro. There are other software you can use to also invite people to test them out. Take for instance Maze. Okay, Maze is a user testing platform that helps designers to always test their products. So there are usertesting.com. There are a whole lot of them that I will not be able to mention here. So there are other online tools that will help you text out your product. If it's a website, you can also share some of these links to some people and say, okay, help me check this out. Does this solve your problem? And you can watch them go through that and ask questions, observe them why they do that. So it might be online, like I said, it can be physical. So if it's physical, you can watch them do that. If it's online, you do that online too, while you ask the right questions and take the necessary feedbacks from them. Okay, on what basis do you know if it should be created as an app or a website? This is a very nice question. I love this. Um, so as a designer, you are not the one to tell whether it's an app or a website. Funny enough, that's the truth. Okay, that's the truth from the design stage. But from the decision, from the your research, from the data, from the from your empathy stage, you will be able to tell. Like I said, you want to know their experiences, you want to know their frustrations, you want to know their motivations. You also want to know, okay, remember, as a designer, you're trying to know what are the major platforms that these people use. So let's take for instance, for you are solving for pregnant people. Okay, you and from questions you come to discover that most of them find solutions on, they try to do a quick search on their mobile phone. Okay, they use mobile phone more often. There are some that might be app. Take for instance, for the app now, maybe you are trying to do a project management platform for product managers. You will not expect them to do that on a mobile app, okay, because most times it is more convenient for them to do it on a larger screen, because they will have most of the features or most of what they need being displayed on a larger screen. So you will not be the one to tell it's a mobile. It's from what you have discovered from your data you have gotten from them that will inform the decision to design a mobile app for them or a web platform. So, but there are some scenarios that you actually need both. There are some scenarios that actually need both. Like some fintech products, you can actually perform transactions on. Take for instance, I think PiggyVest have an app. Think they have an app, and a whole lot of them also have an app and a web platform where you can also perform the same task. All right. Then the next one is, will the designer look for the users to test the work, or the clients will do that? So um with regards to that, as a designer, most times you'll be the one to do that. But if your client already have a pool of users, okay, maybe there is already a community. Like, let's take for instance, it's a Web3 product you are trying to come up with. You can easily go to some of this Discord community and reach out to some persons and say, okay, hi, can you help me test it out? Hi. And there are a lot of communities you can easily reach out to people and say you want to test your project. I'm sure maybe once in a while you have been in a group, be it WhatsApp group, be it on Twitter, and someone posted a link to maybe a survey form and say, hi, can you help me fill this data, or I need some persons to help me test this out. I think I did something like that, was it last week or last 2 weeks, for someone actually on Twitter. So yeah, as a designer, you get your users, but if your clients actually have users, so that is the same thing. The problem is being solved. So there is a solution I once worked on for a US startup. It was actually a SaaS project. So my clients already have some of these users from his end. So when I came up with the solution, he was the one that shared that with them, and that was actually a little bit easier for me. All right, I think I've answered that. Please, can you throw more light on difference between market and user research? So um market research is more like, okay, let's take for instance, I want to come up with a fintech solution that solves transborder payments problem. So I want to come up with a solution that people abroad can easily send money to here in Nigeria. I'm here in Nigeria currently, or to any other country. So that's the solution you're trying to come up with. So the two difference now, explaining this market research. So the market research aspect now, you want to go out there and see, have anybody come up with a fintech solution that solves this problem? So that's very important in design. So you have to do your market analysis very well. So who are the persons, who are the companies? Is this solution already existing? If yes, how were they able to solve it? What are their loopholes? Where did they not really get it right? Where can you come in? Okay, so every business have a competitive advantage. Every startup, most startup are doing the same thing, especially from the fintech perspective. But you always come to discover there is something they are doing separate. It might not be big, but there is always a competitive advantage, which is actually their selling point. So market analysis is trying to see the solutions that is being done out there already. Then research is you trying to reach out to the people. You're actually coming up with you're actually coming up with a solution for. These are the real users. You're asking the real users questions. Now that's user research. Market analysis, you are doing something like desk research, which is like checking out on the internet different solutions relating to what you're already doing. Okay, I think I've answered that question. Do offline products require the services of UI/UX designer? Do offline products? What do you mean by offline product? I think yes. Yes. So take for instance, you are the product you are coming up with is, you want to come up with a mobile watch, or you want to come up with a laptop. You want to build a laptop. These are offline products. Mobile watch is an offline product. You have to go through this phase. Yes, you have to, because you wouldn't want to do something that people will not like, right? So you want to make sure that you are solving a solution, and when this product come out, people will like it, people will buy it, it will solve their problem. So sure, yeah, you have to. Do UI/UX designer code at all? Some do code, yes, yeah. Some do code. Someone like me, I already have a fundamental knowledge of coding, so I understand codes to some extent. So, but not all UI/UX designer code. It's not a must for designers to code. You can be a UI/UX designer standalone. Like taking myself for instance, I'm a standalone UI/UX designer. I don't code. Okay, when I'm done with my design, I push that to the development team, which pick it up from there and write the code. But the other scenario, there are some people that can do both, so it's not a must. It's not a compulsory requirement. But if you can do that, that would be a competitive advantage for you. Okay, please share with us how would you respond to a question if interviewed to know your design thinking. Wow, Emmanuel, you're asking really interesting questions. All right, so um, if I'm asked that question, so like I said, it depends on what I'm trying to share. Like I said, most times during interviews, um, your recruiters will always try to, or your interviewers will like to know your process. Okay, and they will say they might not ask your process directly. They might just say, "Can you share a work you have done for us?" Okay, what they're actually looking out for is they want to know your design thinking process. So if I'm actually asked that question, um I wouldn't be saying at empathy stage, at define stage. No, I will tell that as a story. So let's take for instance, there was a SaaS product I designed for a small I worked on a SaaS project for the little startups in US, and the aim of this project was actually for them to gather data from their users, people visiting their platforms, because they do not have enough resources to hop on other big platforms that offer similar services. They were actually into cookie and compliance management platform where they collect cookies. A lot of time you have seen when you visit website, they say they would want you to accept cookie. They would want to collect some of your data from you while visiting their platform. So, but what this SaaS product was actually into was that they want to solve the solution of, okay, they want, hey, that people should be able to give in their data on consent and should be able to delete that. So throughout at the course of this design, we were able to we already have this some of this datas at hand. So I didn't have to, okay, start asking more questions for the users because I already know what their issue was. So my next step was to ideate some of this process, which I actually put into play by coming up with wireframes. So these wireframes were actually uh, I came up with them using my Figma design tools, which after which I had to prototype and forward to them to have them test out. So which they did, and I asked for their feedbacks. I wanted them to know if that was actually the solution they were actually trying to form. But at the course of this project, even my the client I was actually working with, which was I was actually working with the co-founder of the startup. We had issues along the line, and there are some concerns. There is areas that he didn't like the designs. We had to go back to the drawing board to ask more questions to make sure that what we are trying to come up with was actually in line with the solution that the designers want. At the end of the day, I was trying to make sure that I achieve the aim of, okay, coming up with something that solves my users' goal and also my stakeholders' goal. And I scheduled a separate meeting to discuss my design decisions at the course of this design, which some of these concerns were trashed because my clients understand my decisions at the course of that, and I had to go back to make some adjustments, iterations, and corrections on the designs, which was still later tested with the users over there in the UX, and they were like, "Wow, okay, this actually hits the solution they're actually looking at for," and that was the wrap. So there is no particular way, there's no particular route about this. So if you notice, I didn't start saying define, do this, do that, but you tell that as a story, because at the end of the day, it's a story. You actually reached out to some persons, you actually you defined your solution, you tested them out, and you came up with a design. So you can tell that the best way to do it is tell it as a story. When you start doing ideation, define, the client or the recruiter will actually know that maybe you didn't really that's is it have been overdue. So they don't want to hear that. They already know the stages, so they want to hear your stories. They want to know where you had issues, and how you were able to come up with solutions. I think that's all. Any other question?
No. Christian, can you hear
So
me?
for I think that's all. We have
Yeah,
no
sure, I
other
can hear
questions.
you.
Okay. Okay, we have just one more question. After that, we can call it a night. So this is the last question here.
All right, when making the app for the prototype phase, would it be best to make all buttons clickable, or just make few that will complete the user's task? So the question now is, does all buttons help the users to complete their task? So I feel, yeah, you mustn't make all the buttons clickable. Take for instance, there might be, from the design, there might be buttons that are for back-end users, but I believe all the buttons here are actually meant for the users at one point or the other. So you can make all the buttons clickable so that they can fully interact with them, except if they are not really necessary. If they are not necessary, you can be able to tell. But if the buttons are necessary and you know that it will be very important at the process to make these users achieve their goal while using the product, then why not make that clickable so that they can be able to test that out also at the course of your testing phase. What do you mean by implement? Implement, what I meant by implement is to, when you are done designing, you will hand off to developers. So they will implement that, they will bring that to life by coding it. That's the development stage. I don't know if that's clear. You are not the developer, except you are designing and developing at the same time. So if it's a website, they will do the coding, they will host it, and it will come up live as a website that anybody can go to Google and check out, or to the website and check out. So that's the implementing stage.
Okay. So I think that is all for tonight. So thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on this call. Thank you for teaching. Thank you for your time. We've had a swell session and we have learned a lot. So guys, go on to follow Kristen on Twitter. I think I dropped his handle here. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. His the link to follow his LinkedIn profile is in the chat, so you can go ahead to follow him there. Also, you can follow him on Twitter at Ebuchrisdon. I think I had that displayed on the screen for a while. So thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you for your time once again. So guys, I think that's all. If you have more questions, you can drop them. So thank you so much, Kristen. Have a lovely night rest. It was nice hearing from you again. Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, thank you so much too. So, anybody that have questions can also reach out to me on the social media platform. I will be very happy to answer them. Thank you so much, Mama Kanda. It's once a pleasure having me.
Okay, bye everyone.